Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mystic Therapist podcast. My name is Brandy, and this is my best friend, Serena. And we are just going to have a conversation about kind of just rebuilding your life, reinventing yourself, and starting over, breakups, friendships, love, moving states, all of those things, and everything that we've learned along the way, and kind of just how to rebuild your life and trust yourself while doing it, when to make hard decisions whenever they come. So this is Serena. We've been best friends since we were like 5.
Summer
Like
camp
literally
vibes.
5 years old. But she is a astrologer, a Legree instructor, a health coach. She's a woman of many trades. But okay, let's get into what we're going to talk about. I want to talk about kind of like, I know that we've been here before, but like, have you ever kind of looked around in your life, or like tell me about, or tell everybody about the times that like you've looked around in your life and you're like, this is not what I want and like who I'm meant to be, and I just want more for myself. Like, tell me about like your stories of starting over and like what that's been like for you.
Yeah, I would love to. I feel like I've actually had several of those moments. Understanding astrology and a few other things got me just to realize that my life's full of changes, as is everybody else. But a few of those times, we grew up in the Midwest. And
Yeah.
I think early on, I realized, I don't know if it's because my mom took me to the beach growing up, or I just always had a lust for adventure. But early on, I just figured out I am gonna get the F out of here, basically.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know how I was gonna do it, but a lot of my friends have reflected back to me around that time, and they're like, "Yeah, I remember in middle school you were like, I'm moving to Florida," and everyone's like, "Really? Like,
You did always say
when?"
that.
Like, and I have like no memory really of doing that. I knew I wanted to in my heart, and I'm sure I just blah 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 talk. But I think just realizing you're not fully aligned is like the first step. There's a little bit of self-awareness that comes into play to start, and not being hard on yourself, or just giving yourself grace when you feel that is okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay to say, "Oh my gosh, actually I don't feel fully aligned with this school or this town or
Yeah.
these friendships." And sometimes it's not something that you can change right away. Sometimes it's just getting your mind right to find those steps to get there. So,
That's so true.
right. So I kind of had such an interesting story whenever we first moved to Florida. I was going to go to UCF. I had my roommates picked out. I knew I was moving to Florida. And a week before I graduated high school, maybe a couple weeks, my mom got a phone call to relocate her job in Springfield to Florida. It was either she had like 6 different places she could relocate to, and one of them was Tampa, Florida. So that's about an hour, 45 minutes away from where I would be going to school. And so it just felt like little breadcrumbs of like, okay, actually, this is the right step for me. Like, my family's getting moved here. My mom always wanted to be back in Florida. That was probably part of my subconscious wiring of like, I want to be in Florida, even though it's an amazing place. But yeah, that was they're starting there, like knowing, having that self-awareness, and then listening to what the signs the universe gives you, or
Yeah.
God, or whatever you believe in. And that kind of helps guide you along the way. So I've had a lot of starting over stories since then. That was around when I was like 17. I'm
Yeah.
29 now. It's
Because you
crazy to
started in
say.
Florida. You know, moved to Florida like right when we were done with high school. Like she was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm going to Florida. I'm like,
I told
do
everyone,
you, Boo?
I've got 3 months. Hang
And
out
we're-
with me.
Yeah. We grew up in a small town in the Midwest. So I was so excited for her. I was like, heck yeah, girl, do your thing. But then, and then I ended up moving to California
Yeah.
like a year later, because I also was just like, I got to get out of this town too. And just like, I just jumped ship and like moved in with random people in California. And she was kind of doing the same in Orlando too. But in between there, like, I feel like you started in Florida and then like you went all the way to the West Coast, and then I went all the way. Like, we both have just gone and lived in so many different states, and we're just like, I feel like we've both been so comfortable just like getting up and changing, and like
Saying
not a lot of
yes.
people can do that. Like, out of like a lot of people I know, or just like people in general that I meet, like they've never moved state, let alone like many times. And just like, we weren't even like that scared doing it. I feel like we just kind of embraced the change and like the unknown, and like followed our hearts. Like, I moved to California, then I moved to Arizona, then I moved to Florida. So many cross country trips. And you literally lived in Florida, and then you can tell the story about like when you met a guy. And then Serena's like driving to Arizona and she's like, I'm moving to California now. So like, can you drive me up there? And she's like driving up to California. She lived in Washington and now she's back. She like did a whole circle. So
cross country tour.
yeah. So what would you like tell someone like just with your story, like who is kind of in a place where maybe they're like, I just want something more for myself, or like, I don't fully feel happy here. Like, how do you even get the courage or know what to do next and like follow that? Like, what's your advice on that?
I would be lying if I said that you 100% know what you're going to do next always. Like sometimes it's just being okay with the uncertainty of leaving your comfort zone rather than staying within that comfort zone and risking the changes that could have been. And I've always like, I had like a little Tumblr growing up. My like biggest quote growing up was that I would rather have a life of like, what is that? What ifs? No, I would rather not have a life of what ifs. I would rather have a life of I dids. And maybe sometimes you have to be okay with making a mistake or saying, okay, this wasn't for me. It's time to move on. Yeah. I fully believe when you know yourself, I think that's step one. Know yourself. How to get there. There's so many tools out there, but know yourself and then be real with yourself. Like, okay, is how I'm feeling, like, can I live in this feeling? Or do I need to change something? And it could be like, you've seen everyone get into a breakup. They change their hair color or they cut their hair or they change their style. For us, it just happened to be like changing states and traveling and moving across the country and changing our environment. I think
changing friends too, changing relationships, changing jobs, changing schools. It's like when you embrace one change, you're way easier to adapt to like other changes. I feel like it like trains you where you're like, you know what? I was okay when this ended and something started new. So like, I'll be okay if this job ends too, or I'll be okay if I quit school for an hour. I'll be okay that this relationship ends because it's always gotten better, kind of thing.
Right. And you have to trust your inner guide, to go to those changes because what you want is going to be different. You can have similar overlapping things with your friends or your partner, or, you can have similar goals to somebody else, but your exact decision, the thought process that you have, like the little like advice that your body tries to bring to you, like that's going to be different for every single person. And I think it's super important to just listen to that and not always like, you can't always just like act out on a whim, right? Like sometimes it takes plans, sometimes it takes, you can have messy action things and you can have planned action things. But I just think you got to listen to yourself. Like that's overall the best way to do that is probably like journaling. Maybe you just feel like you're not yourself anymore and ask yourself questions. I'm a big pros and cons person.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of times with friendships, with boyfriends, places I lived, with jobs I've had that I've sat and I've been like, okay, thanks mom. She told me to do this. But pros and cons of literally everything, and even buying a house, like getting a dog. I mean, I when you have it all on paper and you're looking at it, and let's say the list is even. You're even pros and cons. Maybe it's not the right time to make a decision. Maybe you're like, okay, I'm good with this like middle ground right now. Or you make that list and you're looking at this and you're like, oh my God, like I only put a few pros on here because I felt bad that the cons list was like a mile long.
Yeah.
And that's like a huge logical way to put onto paper and see it for yourself. Like, okay, I need to realign myself with what's right for me.
Yeah. That's so true. Thinking about like really putting it out on paper, it helps, and allowing yourself time for self-reflection. And then I think too, it's like, I feel like sometimes people know that like, this might not be totally right for me, but it's so scary. Like it's so scary to have change. I would love if you shared about whenever you met your now husband. Serena met her husband when we were like on a trip in Washington, and we were going to visit our friend Sabrina, and Sabrina lived in a van in Washington. We have a lot of free spirited friends. And
Serena.
Serena had never met Sabrina before. Sabrina was my random roommate in LA that I met. We're still friends.
Sounds crazy.
Yeah, it does. Left her corporate job that she had been at in Tampa. She wanted something new. She was in that state of mind of like, let's do it. Let's embrace change. Let's live kind of thing. Like that chapter ended for her. And she was like, I'm going to go live with Sabrina in her van in Washington. And I was like, well, I'm coming at least for a few days because like, that sounds awesome. I'm so excited for you.
Which I'm so glad you decided to come because you were like my little safety blanket. I didn't know that I needed you there until you were like going back to Arizona. And I was like, wait, you're leaving?
Yeah,
You're leaving?
I know. So I left her with like my plaid jacket. I was like, here, you can have
Literally
this.
like a
You'll
blankie
need
to
it in
me. I was like,
Washington.
thank you. This Florida girl, all I had was like crop
A
tops and
comfort blanket.
yeah, it
But
was, truly was. I wrote that in my journal.
But yeah, she literally, we're there for a week and had an amazing weekend in Seattle. We both had never been in Seattle, and it was like September in Seattle or end of August. It was just the best vibe ever. And then I leave, and a few days later, Serena is texting me. She just got there, just ended her corporate job, just met my friend. She's living in a van, kind of. She's like, I met this guy, or no, she was like, I'm going to go on this float trip in Oregon with a guy that we met at a party. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds like so much fun. You're going to Oregon with these random people. Like, have fun, be safe. Like, this is your time. This is your journey, girl. Like, go for it. So tell them about like that and like just kind of the story of meeting her husband, because then after the float trip, she goes, I'm going on a 44-mile hike with this guy I met at the float trip. It was just like one unknown after another. And it was just like, just going and going.
And by the way, I'm living in his parents' house, and it was like a whole,
I was like,
thing.
wow, like this is crazy. I was like, this is awesome. Because she literally went from like living in St. Pete, owning a house, working the same job for like years, like very grounded and like, your life and like making roots
in my Taurus
Florida.
energy for sure.
And then it just went from like day to day was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, wow.
I was super single. Like I feel like there's like a somewhat of a pre-story to that. Like when I got there, I was like, I'm focusing on me. This is my time now. Like I think I'd gotten out of a relationship earlier that year. This was like towards the end of that same year. And I just like knew that it was about me. And so before I decided to go on that rafting trip, I was literally like, you guys, should I go to Mexico? Should I go to Huntington Beach? Like, I was like open to everything. And I think step one too, like is just being open, trusting, being open, receiving what comes your way. Because if you're closed off, you're going to be closed off. You can say no. Like you can say no to stuff that doesn't fit you. It doesn't align. But if you're always closed off, you're never going to get that like alignment chance because you're not looking for it, I
think being single too does make you more open.
It's easier to do that
to be more
many
open.
ways.
Yeah.
Especially as a female, I feel like, you just get like courted differently.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you're more grounded when you are with your partner, kind of. Well, at least I am. But like when you're single and you're just like, okay, all these things just ended. Like
all these choices.
Yeah,
let's
I have
go.
all these choices, and you're in your like younger 20s. It's just like you just kind of are in that era, and you don't even have to be in your 20s. I feel like it could be at any age.
It could be at any age.
You can just make a change and be like, you know what? Let's just like arms wide open to life.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I was that time from my life. I like refer to it as like a eat, pray, love moment because it felt like some stuff, like some chapters had just like abruptly ended for me, and I was like, well, like this is all I can do right now. But so I said yes to this rafting trip. My friend Sabrina drove me in her like greenie to meet up with this guy.
It's like a green bus.
Yeah, green bus. We call it greenie, greenie pesto, whatever. There were a few
she really
names.
wanted to call it pesto.
But yeah, so drop me off with Adam, my husband's best friend, Connor. And Connor's dad every year does this annual rafting trip. His dad like bought out a rafting company. So he has all the rafts, he has all the life jackets, like whatever else you need to have a rafting company. I don't know. And we get there and we're staying in this house with a bunch of other people that were there. And my husband, Adam, he hadn't joined us there yet. It was just Connor and I and a few other people that were there. So, it's like Labor Day weekend. We're like drinking, we're having a good time, we're getting to know everyone. There was like a game room, like living, laughing, loving, And the funniest part about all of this is like those statements of like, when you know. As soon as Adam walked into the room, well, okay, before Adam walked in the room, Connor was calling him like, what are you doing? When are you coming here? Or Adam would call him, and his laugh was so like, it just drew me in. Like, I love a good laugh. I love a funny person. I love an open-hearted person too. So hearing that over the phone was like just cool. I was like, cool,
This?
Yeah, exactly, that vibe.
You like felt it even like without seeing
I
him.
felt the warmth exactly before I even met him. And then as soon as he walked in, still to this day, I like love his smile. His smile was the one thing that just like got me. I was like, wait, he's so handsome.
I'm just like saying yes to like going to live with Sabrina in Washington.
Exactly, yeah.
She literally met her soulmate.
Yeah. So all weekend, we were kind of just like connecting, hanging out. We kept getting,
Connecting.
yeah, yeah, hanging out till 5 in the morning, going to bed 5:30, 6 a.m., and then getting up and going rafting at 8 a.m. So there was no, I was literally running on no sleep, a little bit of like delusion.
Bus. Raft.
Right. Yeah.
Raft.
Our
Drink.
ride. Milkshakes. Another dinner. Like
Swim.
yeah,
Another raft.
Yeah. And I was
Connect.
training for a half marathon at the time. So I was also running in Oregon, like high up in the mountains. So that's different for a Florida girl. Like that was hard.
Oh yeah, that's
I was
hard.
off my game a little, but I was doing that on no sleep. So it was just like it was a crazy weekend. And there were so many things involved in that, like that feeling of like connecting and like having fun. And, it's just really easy to
And
like
you're like
fall in
just with
love.
so many people that you don't even know, but like you were just so comfortable and
Everyone
having,
was vibing.
and it was just because
It
you
was a good
said
group.
yes.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? I am gonna go on this rafting
Yeah.
trip. Like, so be it.
I remember being like,
It's like
is
this was a
crazy?
random person. Like
We
I
had
had met him,
but like
one time.
Yeah, like he was pretty random,
But he seemed safe.
Yeah,
Do it.
we had in our minds connected Connor to a friend that we had like growing up, longtime friend,
Yeah.
and we were like, he's like him, he's great. We
Like,
just
yeah.
like ran with that.
Sometimes
But,
it's like trusting your intuition. Sometimes you just know when
that's
things
like a
are
wink
fine.
from the universe, in my opinion. Like sometimes, exactly, you just know.
This is a little like
Synchronicities are
like I
a
gotta
thing.
follow this. I'm
Yeah.
excited. It's not unsafe. It's exciting. My intuition is excited. It's like a little breadcrumb.
Right.
And you had no idea you were gonna meet. Like that was probably the only situation maybe where you could have met Adam. Maybe.
Funny thing about that is Adam and I actually like circled around each other in different places. Like in California, when I visited you once, he was there the same week, like on Santa Monica Pier, like a day apart. Like just like
Wow.
weird little things.
love
We were in
that.
New York the same time. And obviously these are big places. Like what's the odds of you running into somebody like that?
But it's cool.
The universe was
The string
eventually
theory.
the string theory. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, a week into knowing Adam, we went on a date. He asked me to be exclusive within like a week. I was like, nobody has ever asked me this. Like, what kind of guy does this? Especially like nowadays, but even like 5 years ago, it was still like, who says that? And I was just all for it. I remember like texting all the guys that I had like a roster. I was
She
literally
texted
like,
her roster.
I'm in love, so like I can't talk to you anymore. I
That's
literally
awesome.
did say stuff like that. And when I decide on something, I go full. I think that's an important part of my story too. And just like going into something new, if you're gonna move to a new city, if you're gonna start a new job, do a career, like you have to do it wholeheartedly, or you're gonna regret
Go for it.
having one foot in, one foot out. There's nothing good
So
about
true.
doing that, Like
So true.
can't have one foot on the land, one foot on the sea. You're gonna split apart. Like that's just not how that works. So
Make a decision, go for your gut, and just like run with it.
yeah, exactly.
And you can change courses anytime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that 44-mile hike was crazy though. I was in the best shape of my life. I ended up literally carrying Adam out of the forest after like
Yeah.
experience. I didn't pack very well. Like
So how did the
food.
44, because like she's at this rafting trip and it was like literally, I think like 2 days later, she's like,
later.
3 days later, she's like FaceTiming me. She's like, I'm at Adam's house, at his parents' house. Like his dad's working behind me. I was like, okay, wait, what is going on? The plot is like thickening and turning in different. I'm like, where's Sabrina? Where's Greedy?
Yeah.
You're at this guy's house now. But I was all for it. I was so happy for her. And then she's like, well, we're going to go on this hike that's 44 miles. And I'm like, wow. Like this was like 3 days, guys, after the rafting trip.
There's Adam's dad was on the rafting trip, and Adam's dad basically was like, oh, you're here with a friend living in a van. That's cool. Adam's dad is a crazy travel guy, like in Argentina 1 week, backpacked through Europe in his 20s, like always trying to go somewhere new, do something new. You can't keep him in one place. Total Aquarius vibes.
He got it.
He got it. And I
you.
think he was very like, wait, this girl is cool, Like he had that kind of, So he invited us to park Greenie, the van, across the street and then hang out at their house and like shower there, live there. Like he's like, you can stay here for a week or so, whatever you want, till your next thing.
You're like, what? Don't
And I
mind
was
if I
like,
do, because
okay, yeah, exactly.
I was going to live in a van and the house sounds kind of better.
The house sounds better. And the week before that, we didn't even live in the van really. We were living in one of Sabrina's friends let us stay in like an A-frame cabin. So it was like, I was just living in all these really nice places in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest.
So much
coast.
FOMO, y'all. I was like, wow. I was like back in Arizona, just like working at Yelp, like, hey, do you want to buy Yelp ads? And I was like, wow, this is awesome.
That weekend, we were rafting the weekend we met. And then the next weekend, Adam said, do you want to go on a hike in Olympics? And I was like, yeah, definitely. And he's like, okay, we could backpack. I'm like, sure. Knowing damn well I've literally
Sure.
never camped. Never camped.
Probably didn't even have like a jacket with you.
No, I didn't. I
A
had
rain jacket.
I remember like I had these Victoria's Secret like leggings. We're not warm at all. Hiking to a glacier, okay? So that's just to give everybody like a understanding of that. I
44
didn't have
miles.
socks. I literally was borrowing Sabrina's socks that she had that had like lips on them. Like it was just like very girly coded vibes.
I like gave her some of my clothes. They were like very like Euphoria-esque type clothing at the time.
That was my first date. I had like this like the Maddie black pants that like crossed around your hips. Went to like a nice steakhouse and I'm in like a literally like a Euphoria
Maddie's
girl.
Euphoria fit.
But hey, you know, you're slipping out of
She was that girl.
suitcase. I was that girl. I'm like, well, this is my first date. Adam loved it. But I remember he was like, do you want to see the hike we're going to go on? And I was like, no, I love surprises. I think also that's like, that attributes to a lot of my like crazy experiences is that I'm like so cool with whatever. Now I've learned because my husband's like a little bit crazy. Like he's a little unhinged when it comes to hiking and camping and rock climbing and whatever I do with him. I'm like, okay, let me see the trail. Like I need to know.
Let me see the trail.
I need to see this now. Last time I had full range. No.
Yeah, I went on one hike with Adam when I first met him with you guys.
Yeah.
And it was the first, I drove her up to San Francisco and because she was moving to San Francisco, literally like 3 months. Was it 6 months?
It was like exactly 6 months. Yeah.
Because we went to Washington, or she met Adam in like September, and then it was like January you were moving up to San Francisco with him, and he was moving
and
there
selling
too.
my house. And
they were living in an Airbnb in like a bedroom. She went through Arizona, and I was like, I'll drive you. Like, heck yeah, let's round 2, another city, let's go. Sort of new. And then I met this mystery man who she went on the hike with, and obviously he was awesome and great. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. And then we went on hike the next day, and it was just like, we were like, we had to go off trail. Like anytime like you hike with her husband, it's off trail. Like, and I'm like, hi. But it was really fun. But yeah, he definitely likes those extreme hikes.
Yes, he pushes my limits, which is good. I need that because in a relationship, it's nice to have, like when we talked about when you're single, like you're open and you do all these like crazy things because you're single. But I think Adam added this layer for me that was like adventurous that I need. Honestly,
yeah, you were like,
you're
looking for that.
Yeah, looking for someone that was like, he's very straight and narrow, super smart, but fun, like to travel. And that is like exactly, it's so weird. I literally manifested Adam into my life. Like you can say whatever you want about manifestation, but I wrote all of this stuff about my future husband, what I want.
She did.
Like,
when she like was going through a breakup, she's like, I am writing out what I want.
Like,
what I want in a man, I'm writing it down.
And I was like, Pisces, new moon, manifestation. Months later, literally the week after I met Adam, like a week before we got I'm getting confused here, but mid-September. So after I met him, we'd been around each other for a couple of weeks. It was a Pisces full moon. If you know anything about astrology, also that clock says 8:18. That's Adam's birthday. It's not even 8:18 here right now.
Yeah.
Energy doesn't lie, but I forgot where I was going with this. Just manifestation. It's good to write down your thoughts. It's good to get clear on what you want. And it's good to just follow when your gut says, hey, this is right. This feels good. It can be scary. Like on that 44-mile backpacking trip, we set up our first camp the first night. It was romantic. It was cute. Like we were literally in the rainforest, the whole rainforest.
The pictures were so beautiful, y'all. Like if you haven't been to the
Olympics.
Pacific Northwest, like the Olympic National Park, it's just like, it's unreal.
It's like unreal. Twilight will give you the best example of it, kind of, but not
when you're
even.
in it, it's just like, yeah, it was magical.
So I remember looking at Adam and like I started crying and he's like, why are you crying? And I'm like, I don't know. This is really embarrassing. Like I just met this guy a week ago. I was like, honestly, I'm in love with you. Like I'm falling in love with you. I said something along those lines and I'm just scared because I didn't expect this. Yeah. I was like, well, you know what? Like love is a really beautiful thing. That's not something you need to be scared of. And it was the perfect response. It felt so comforting. And like, I was like, okay, yeah, this feels good. It was like another green light, another breadcrumb that was really tasty. It was perfect. And that just kind of, when you're backpacking for 44 miles, we were 2.5 days, no phone, no service, like just us. We talked about everything, our whole lives, when we wanted to get married. If we picked a date, what would it be? Like, and those weren't like the first conversations. We talked about family, aspiration, goals, what we want. It was just like everything was aligning.
Yeah.
And you can't ignore that. Even if it's quick and you feel it's quick in your heart, like that's okay. It's okay to take things slow if you feel you need to, but sometimes it's okay to like speed a little. Like there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
You kind of have a story like that too.
I do.
Where
I like what you said about like green lights. I feel like that's such a like green lights versus red lights, like synchronicities versus like, is this a bad gut feeling? Like at the end of the day, I really feel like your intuition knows. And like, of course, there's moments where you feel unsure and things feel scary and confusing and messy with anything in life. But if you really sit with yourself and like feel into your body with your decisions and journal or talk it out with your friends or whatever it is for you, going on walks, it's like you have the answers that you want inside of you. And at the end of the day, you're the only one that knows what's best for you.
Yep.
So like also taking, when you do talk to people, like taking it all with a grain of salt too, you know? But yeah, whenever I met Johnny, like I was out of a relationship. I was in like a nearly 5-year relationship and I abruptly ended it just on an intuitive feeling. And I know that sounds bad, but it just was what it was. Like it was, my intuition was like yelling at me that like something was wrong. Like this isn't your person. And a person can be an amazing person, but they don't have to be your person. You know, like they can be a great person. A friend can be you like them as a person, but they're just not going to be your best friend or your friend, you know? And so that's how I came to the conclusion with that relationship, which was so hard. House, dogs, like basically married, like the whole shebang.
You're so intertwined at 5 years. There's no way to not do that.
Yeah,
after
exactly.
5 years,
We moved to multiple states together. Nothing super wrong. It just wasn't super right. You know, there wasn't like always a green light for me. And that was scary. And I got the courage to finally end the relationship and trust in myself and fell back on my friends. Thank God my other friend lived nearby in the town I was in, so I could live with her. A few months later, like, I guess it was like maybe like 3 or 4 months later, y'all, I'm not looking for a relationship. Made a year promise to be single. Like I told Serena and she laughed at me. She was like, I
did that too.
You're like, I feel like you making that promise, like you're definitely going to get in a relationship and meet somebody, but because you just said that.
It's
and
always
like,
when you say that it like,
and I was
it's like ironic.
Whatever, but no.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, no. So I was like, I'm going to be single for a year. I'm going to have fun. I planned like a backpacking trip through Central America for like 3 months. We started in Costa Rica. We went, and then anyways, ended up bringing this guy that I met, of course. It's like, what the heck, universe? Anyway, didn't want to date anybody, but I was dating around, like meeting guys, having fun, but it was very surface level. Single era. And then I meet my now boyfriend that I've been with for like 2.5 years. And we met on a cruise ship and he just came up and talked to me. What'd you do today? Do you want to go snorkeling tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I do want to go snorkeling. That sounds really fun. I was with my aunt and my grandma and like they weren't going to go snorkeling. So I was like, this sounds great. There's a guy my age. He's kind of cute and he asked me to go snorkeling. So I'm going to go. Got up early in the morning, went snorkeling. And what I thought was just kind of like a vacation thing. You know, we were having so much fun on this cruise together and just like, you know, it felt like we were like in the Titanic, like Rose and Jack, just running around like
positive
crazy.
Vibes.
Yeah. We like it didn't end that way. Yeah.
Sinking ship.
But we were running around like Rose and Jack.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is awesome. But I was like, it's just a cruise boy, you know, like in my head, I'm like, it's just a cruise boy. He hates that. But because he was like, no, I like her. Yeah. He's like, I really liked you. But I was so like, I was open, but I had my little rules of like no relationship for a year. And then he continued to talk to me after the cruise. And I was like, I had like an honest conversation with myself where I was like, you really liked this guy and had fun with him. You could ignore that feeling and just go about how you've been living your life and your rule. And I'm sure that'd be fine. But like, how are you gonna like shut down and like block away like a feeling, a sparks of love really? And like someone you had so much fun with, like, how am I gonna like shut that down and be like, nope, because of my silly little rule? Like, at the end of the day, it didn't make sense. And I was like, I think I would regret not going for it. And so I replied. And then a few days later, he invites me to go to Colombia, like the country. And I was like, yeah.
Here I am, like, no room to judge, really. But I was like,
my mom, like, was having nightmares. Like, she was like, I feel like you're going to go there and, like, get kidnapped. Because I flew there alone.
She's telling me that. And I'm like, fuck, like, do I agree with Michelle here? Like,
yeah. I was like, I think Colombia. And so I drove down like 5 hours away to the airport so I could get the one-way flight, of course.
Makes sense.
And then I flew to Colombia and it was awesome. Literally, it was like carnival. So everyone's dancing in the streets. It's just like a celebration of like life and party and love and culture and all the things, and we had the best time. And then from there, it was just kind of history. You know, I went to Colombia. Whenever we were in Colombia, he goes, "I'm falling in love with you." And I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, "Here we are. All of a sudden I'm in love now. Like,
Like,
how did
same.
this happen?" Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, me too." And, you have to say yes to like those green lights and like your intuition. And like when
Mhm.
love knocks on your door, even though I wasn't looking for it, like you have to answer, even if it wasn't in your plan,
Mhm.
And then I ended up moving to South Florida. I was in North Florida for this guy, basically. And it's been really fun. And now we live like 45 minutes from each other because of that move. Like,
Yep.
I would have never moved down here. So it's like, just reminds me of just trusting your inner knowing, your intuition, and saying yes to life whenever you feel like you should. If it
Mhm.
feels exciting, if you can do it, if you can go and say yes to meeting a new boy or traveling or whatever, or
Mhm.
moving or whatever it might be, like you can't ignore those things because they will really take you to your destiny.
Yeah.
Like Serena, it literally saying yes to all those little things like led you back to where you were born.
Yeah.
And like it was always her goal to end up back where she is now in Sarasota.
Mhm.
And literally all of these micro decisions brought you back
Yep.
to like having a home in like your favorite place in the world with
Definitely
your
didn't
soulmate.
know that that was gonna happen either. It was not that was, in my mind, of course, I would have loved that, right? But
Yeah.
it's like that was not every decision I was making was not like calculated in that way. It was just the breadcrumbs that excite you. You said something earlier about my rule. You're like, I had this rule, and I laughed in my head just because rules are meant to be broken. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, they are. I've always been like a troublemaker, like whatever, but that's like made my life fun. It's made my life interesting, and it's not gotten me in too much trouble. There are certain rules that are obviously important as long as you're not hurting other people
Right.
really or like destroying other people's stuff. Like,
Yeah. Don't break those rules.
yeah, but just like, sometimes you put a box around yourself that doesn't need to be there because we want to control everything. We're creatures of
Right.
habits that like comfort. So,
There's also different eras of your life where it's like
mhm.
some eras are very grounded and structured and routines and like you're in your flow and that feels so good. Like I've like 4 Virgo placements, so that part of me loves that. But there's also times in your life where you should kind of be saying yes and you should kind of be experimenting a little bit and like
Mhm.
just saying yes to those adventures or those people or those things. Like there's yes eras and then there's like no eras,
Your
and
20s are definitely you can change any time in your life. Like I'm a firm believer in that, but your 20s are your defining decade. There's like a doctor in psychology that I think her name's like Meg something, but she wrote a book called The Defining Decade, and that was like a huge I read it when I was like 22, and that book changed my life. Like along with you were doing some like course
like
like helping
mindset
people
stuff. Yeah.
transform and transcend, like stuff
Yeah.
like that. It was around the same time I was reading this book, like going through this course with Brandy, and basically the Defining Decade says like this is your time to like quit your job, go backpack across the country, like change your boyfriend, like
It really is though.
change your friends. Maybe you drop out of school, maybe you get back into school. Like, there's all these things that now is like it's like statistically proven that in your 20s, that's the time to really do all of that. And if you're watching this and you're older than in your 20s, you're out of your 20s, it's not to make you feel bad at all. It's just to kind of reassure anybody that is going through the time frame 20 to 29 that it's okay to make those decisions that feel crazy to everybody else.
Yeah. And I think like people who like even my mom and my aunt and my grandma, like I think they would agree with
Hmm.
that because
Hmm.
like in their 20s, like nobody really has it figured out. And if
No,
like you're just pretending. It's
you are.
like because you really don't. I really think there's wisdom that people can naturally have, but there is wisdom that just comes with age. And you just don't know that until you go through
Till you're there.
different relationships and even having children or different careers or loss and breakups and new beginnings. Like you
Totally.
just don't have that wisdom until you go through certain things. And so that's really what I feel like change is all about. You gain so much from it and then you're actually not scared.
Hmm.
Like going through different things that I've went through, like losing people and breakups and, working different jobs and stuff like that. It has truly made me like way more fearless than I
Mhm.
ever was because it's like I know that I'm always like it's always going to turn out okay.
Mhm.
And like whenever one door closes, literally another one will open that is probably much better because you had the courage to change that one door for you and close it.
Yep.
Um, but yeah,
So would you do all of that again?
I mean, if life was telling me to, I would follow it again. But it was like freaking exhausting too. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No,
Lots
yeah.
of crying and like, I don't know what I'm doing, mom.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and failing classes and all these things. Like, college took me a long time, but I ended up graduating with like a 4.0 and like being on the dean's list. My first like couple years out of high school, like I was failing many college courses and then it just totally changed for me. So you're never stuck with like one outcome. Like you always have like neuroplasticity. That is a real thing. You are not fixed in any way.
Mhm.
Like you have never been fixed. You are not even fixed in how you are now. Like you
Mhm.
have the capacity to change anything about yourself in your life and your brain will get in gear too the
Mhm.
more that you do it. And yeah, it's crazy.
Mhm. Mhm. It all worked out. I remember when you were applying to grad school and you were worried about some of the like 18, 19-year-old you classes and that GPA, and I was like, listen, you're on the right track. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna be okay. And it was. It was okay.
Yeah.
We didn't worry too much about it, hopefully.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. And it's
uh,
like, even if, you start things and it doesn't turn out or you don't get a certain job or
mhm.
you do have a breakup, like these things are not ideal in the moment. Like they don't
Mhm.
feel great. You're not like, okay, perfect, change.
No,
Like it's
yeah.
like, oh,
It's
change. My
it's
world
life
is
altering.
ruptured.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's literally like yeah, your life feels like it has broken down in front of
Mhm.
you. Everything
Mhm.
that you've built, like it's not the best feeling at all.
There's only been
But
a couple of feelings that I felt like when my career job, like that I was in with insurance and stuff, like it actually that door closed on me. I got fired for going to a protest, like crazy shit, honestly. And I remember leaving there, like at first I was like grappling, like, no, I can't let this change. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like alone in my car, I'm like driving home and I'm like, wait, this is actually like the best thing ever. Like I was planning on quitting in 6 months and starting a business and doing all these things. And there's only been very, very small times that I felt like, wait, okay, this is going to be okay in the moment of it, like actually changing and falling apart. But I think that's probably like my Aquarius moon or something. I like have the ability to detach and look at like the bigger picture more than some.
wow.
But breakups, that's been like my, what do you call that? Like your Achilles heel. That has been friendship breakups and like love interest breakups have cut me to the core, like
Mhm.
have torn me apart, have made it feel like there's nothing left for
I
me
think it's just
now.
like one of
Like,
the hardest things ever
yeah.
is like a relationship ending. It's very painful because as humans, we are wired for that connection with
Mhm.
another person. And when you get so close to somebody and then it ends, it is so difficult because then it even makes it hard to trust again and to open up
Mhm.
again. It's like so difficult.
Truly.
Yeah.
What's harder, friendship breakups or relationship breakups?
Oh, that's hard.
In your opinion, I guess.
I've really only had like one big like friendship breakup. A lot of my friends, like we're like pretty freaking like the ones that I really choose, they have
Mhm.
stayed with me my whole
Mhm.
life. There's been some that have fizzled out. I do think relationship breakups, there's just nothing like it because
Mhm.
like friendships, those are also very hard and difficult because it's basically like a relationship. You're like
Mhm.
dating them in like another way. I don't
Yeah.
even know.
Yeah.
Relationships, it does cut deeper. What do you think?
I probably agree with that. It's kind of like it's like a weird like drug withdrawal, like getting out of a relationship where you're spending so much time together. But those friendship breakups, like the longer you're friends, the harder it feels to like, let it like fizzle out or course correct or be okay with it changing even. Sometimes you
Yeah.
can have like I think friendship breakups are less dramatic, but I don't necessarily know if they hurt less. Like I think they're similar like pain in the heart for me.
Yeah.
But relationship breakups have always been like way more dramatic for me. It's like
They are more dramatic. But they're
so
both very painful. And I think that's another thing to think about two times too. I wanted that. Think.
yep.
Okay. This actually. What advice would you give younger you?
It's a great question. The advice I would give younger me is don't take it so seriously. It's not going to matter, you know? And what I mean by that is like sometimes I got so zoomed into like my micro circle in school in elementary school and middle school and high school. I just felt like there was nothing else around me. And maybe that was part of my story was connecting with people and trying to find those friendships that really were genuine and what they're supposed to be. And that's probably part of my story is getting hurt. I feel like I was always so funny and everything growing up, but I definitely dealt with like bullying and ostracizing and just like weird friendships because
Yeah.
I was like a dorky kid. Or dorky's not like the right, quirky maybe, but
She was a hilarious kid. Like,
yeah.
guys, like, you think you're funny, like, not to, like, minimize your humor or other people's humor, even my humor, but Serena is like just so fearless, like would do anything. Like in class, I'd be like,
Me too.
Serena, say this out loud right now. And she would just say it out loud. Or like, Serena, go get up in the class and do this. And she would get up and do it. Like with any situation.
Yeah.
I'd be like, Serena, go in that person's backyard. Just hop on the fence and go in their backyard. I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
so clearly I opened up the space to allow some of this into my life, but that learns boundaries and all of
That's
that
true.
growing up. But I think there were some times that I really like, the part of me that was like funny and like would say yes to all of that was just like me wanting to be like liked and accepted as like sad girls that sounds. And I definitely was in many ways with like amazing people growing up. But there were definitely times where I just like took what was going on around me way too seriously and I should have just let it roll off my back a little bit more. To younger me, like it's going to be okay. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to find your college, your degree. You know, it's okay to say no to playing soccer in college. Like you don't have to carry all of this guilt that you have to have all of your life figured out by 18.
No.
Like there was this like clock that was ticking for me that I felt really heavily. And I think that impacted me. Also, like focus on your studies a little bit more. Like I was so, like she said, I was just funny. I would do anything. Like I literally got class clown. That was a superlative I got when I graduated high school. And I remember thinking like who I got class clown with, and I was like, "Y'all think of me as like the girl version of this guy." I was like, what the fuck? Also, like, love. No hate, just love. But I was just like, okay, wait, what? But yeah, I don't know. I could have hit the books a little bit more and just not focused on like the socials. But you know, at the same time, like that was part of my story. It's cool.
It's always a part of the story, you know, like
Yeah.
all those things. It's like you learn from it and evolve from it. And
Yeah.
it's also part of you, like being the silly
Totally.
friend and
Yeah.
like being the class clown.
Dude, yeah,
Like
it's always in there.
that's just like your
Always
personality
in there.
too. Okay, one more question. What is something you wish women knew sooner?
Ooh, I'm probably gonna take this like really like health related. But, you can somewhat control and work with the phases of your cycle. So I just feel like nobody ever told me growing up. My period was embarrassing. Like there was all these things that I just was. My mom never said this, but it was like something that like was instilled in us or whatever.
Mhm.
Like in fifth grade, they separated the boys and the girls. It was like they can't know about their periods or something. Like as they were telling
This
us
could be a
about
whole
all this
other
stuff.
like 2-hour
This
conversation.
could totally, we didn't even get into that, like our career stuff. We were talking about other things, but I just like know your body. And to know your body, you have to know a little bit of science. And as a woman, you should know as soon as you start menstruating. So for me, that was in 7th and 8th grade. Just know more about your cycle. Know what it does. Know that your emotions are normal at certain phases. Like know that the cramps can probably be fixed by a little bit of diet and lifestyle changes. And that's not to discount anyone that has any serious medical issues. But to be fair, there are ways to help people with those serious medical conditions in regards to diet, lifestyle, exercise, like stress levels, input, output. I mean, there's so much involved in that. So my hope and pray and wish if I have a little girl someday, like I will be educating her so much, but I just hope one day that it's like more common knowledge and like we are supported and then we embrace that like monthly cycle. We're not like men. We're not little men. Like we're our own thing. So
yeah, I love that. Yeah. I've learned so much about my cycle like the past, just like for years, but like definitely the past year. And it's so important to honor your body. I mean, even as like a therapist and a mental health lens, your cycle can also have an impact on your mental health and depression and PMDD and anxiety and stuff like that. And what some people might think is depression is actually just a certain phase of your period and it's influencing your feelings. And instead of like pathologizing it, it's just like, this is how I'm feeling this week. And look, this is where I'm at my cycle this week. And it's not to dismiss real depression or real mental health disorders, but it does have an influence. And so I think it's so important to know that about yourself and track those things and honor and respect your body too, because it's all related.
Yeah.
Mind, body, soul, it's all connected. And yeah,
I have chills.
it's a good one.
Natural cycles. Yeah.
Okay, well, we could just keep talking for hours and hours, but I think we're going to end it here. Thank you so much for chatting with me, Serena, and we will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody. 49.